All right, everybody. What's going on, JP Football Fanatics fans? It's your boy, JP Football Fanatics, back with you once again with another NFL weekly pick video here. For this week, we've gone through 3 weeks of football so far, in which this week is going to be focusing more on the week 4, which is the week that is like the first weekend of October. You know, we got a game going on Thursday night. So this Thursday night, so at the end of September into the October weekend. So, you know, this football season's already flying through. We've already been through a month of football already. Crazy to even think about. So now we'll get into the season, you know, the week 4 NFL season in terms of everything that you need to know about what's going on with your favorite team this coming week and what their matchups look like. So great to see everybody again. Thank you for tuning in again. I apologize that I wasn't able to go on earlier. You know, sometimes duty calls for other things, and sometimes I just had to go in and do those things real quick before I go on to the stuff that I really enjoy doing the most, and that's to talk about football with all of you guys on here. So if you if you have not done so already, please be sure to drop a like on this video. If you have not done so already, be sure to also hit that subscribe button as well for more NFL content from yours truly, and let me know in the comments down below as far as like what you think about your picks this week, and think about like what you think about my content. What are some things that you would like me to see moving forward from me in terms of how to improve the podcast that I do on a weekly basis, whether it's during the season or it's preseason, off season, you name it. You know what I mean? So because I love talking football with you guys, and I love being able to relay all the different information that I know about each and every team in the NFL. So like, comment, subscribe, help out the channel to be growing bigger and better than what it is already. So thank you all again for tuning in. Always means a lot. You know, I always enjoy doing these every week, and I enjoy being able to talk about my picks and everything. So without any further ado, we will go ahead and we will begin talking about the weekly picks. So before we get started, first things first, we got to talk about this, right? So last week in week 3, I went back above 500, 9-7 record for the week. So not the greatest, not something that I was hoping for. So my overall straight up picks this year has been 26 and 22. So definitely not great by any means at all. So, but that does happen. I'm not really keeping track of the spread record or anything like that for this year. I might try to do that next year, but it's just also a lot. I have to kind of figure things out in terms of how I'm going to do that, in terms of best bets and spreads and everything like that, because it could be a lot to really be able to handle and keep in track of. So this was my record for last week, 9-7. I'm hoping to improve that. I don't want to keep it at 9-7. I like to improve and see if I can do better. I think I can, but it's just going to be a lot of time and practice and being able to do so. So that is my overall record, 26 and 22, and for week 3 was 9-7. So let's go ahead. We'll get started with the picks. We'll get started with the talking about the first game of the NFL week 4 season for 2023, and that is the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. Big game right here, big divisional game here. The Lions are favored by 1.5, which is very interesting to see, mostly because the Packers are at home. It's a Lambeau Field. This is one of the hardest places to play in the entire NFL. So this will be a great matchup to see this week in terms of how these two teams go into play. So with the Lions, you know, obviously we know about the Lions this year. They're a storybook team that's been playing quite well this season, especially defensively, which is something that we probably would have never thought about before as the Lions. Like, you know, playing defense. They're actually playing good defense for once. Yes, they are. They're actually playing very good defense this year. You know, obviously they may not be top 10. They're not elite, but they've been playing hard and they've been playing physical, and they're keeping themselves. They're allowing themselves to stay in these games and not give up all these scores and have to win by shootout. So that's also a big thing right there too. So the Lions have been playing great this year, honestly. 2-1 on the year, as the Packers too. The Packers are another team this year, 2-1. They actually are a surprising team this year. No one expected them to come out here and win 2 games already this season. One of them coming against the worst team in the NFL, and that's their rival, the Chicago Bears. And then another one coming off of last week, a big win over the Saints in a comeback fashion. So that was also big to see. This is a really tough game. I really like this matchup a lot for this week for a lot of different reasons. One, because it's a divisional rival game between the Lions and the Packers. The Packers are at home. The Packers have been playing great with Jordan Love. In questions of who's going to return in this game, either Aaron Jones or Christian Watson, we don't really know if they're coming back or not, but we're going to assume that they do. Get some first team reps. I know Christian Watson has been out there on the field, for this week, been limited, but he's getting himself back into the swing of things. And, hopefully this is something that helps out make that separation between Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed and all them. So just making sure that their passing game is being pushed more down the field now than just playing like a versatile, and intermediate passes like that. So, but Jordan Love, as I said last night in my Week 3 recap, Jordan Love has been playing really awesome football this year. There's not so much I can really say that's that's negative, really, to be honest with you. I think Jordan Love is playing the best football that we thought that we would have seen from him maybe for the next year. He's already playing at a very high level of football. I would say he's making some really good throws. He's playing consistent, which is something that Aaron Rodgers struggled in last year. Aaron Rodgers was inconsistent. He was not a very aggressive passer like he was in years past. And Jordan Love is willing to take some risks, and he's been very fortunate to be able to be in the position that he is now. And I think, drafting him in the first round in that 2020 draft and, allowing him to learn from a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, I think has really developed him very well. The Packers did it right, and we probably wouldn't have said that 3 years ago. We would have had a lot of questions on why they would draft a first-round quarterback in 2020, and we would have had a lot of questions in terms of, why didn't they draft all these different receivers to help out Rodgers? But now it makes a lot more sense now, because it's also helping out their team to be better, honestly. And I think this team is better than what people gave them credit for, but more importantly, I think they're even better than what they were last year. Defensively, Jair Alexander was out last week. He should be back this week, but that also remains in question as well. But yeah, the defense has also been playing quite well. I mean, I think their passing attack, their pass rush at least has been consistent. They've been playing some really good man coverage as well, playing in the zone. So, anything that you ask the defense to do, they've been playing quite well. And this will probably be their biggest test of, so far this season in terms of how they're going to stop a really strong offense and a very explosive offense in the Lions. And that will be very difficult, as Jared Goff has been playing really nice this year, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. The running back room, David Montgomery is still in question. Not sure if he's going to be back in this game, but they also have Jameer Gibbs, who's also a pretty nice addition to this team as well. A strong offensive line, and then you have a good offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson. You have a lot of different things going on with this team that is they could be a dark horse for the NFC this year. So, and the Packers could also be not that far behind them. So, which team do I really like here the most? I think this is a really tough one. This is probably one of the tougher games to kind of pick this week, besides a couple of others too. I really like this matchup. I think this is definitely going to be the best Thursday night football game that we've had all season. But I think I'm going to take the home team and go with the upset for the Packers. I really like how the Packers have been playing, especially the way that they played at home. It was a bit of a concern when they were getting shut out by Derek Carr, and the Saints offense has been kind of a roller coaster ride, but they found a way to win. I think they can do the same in terms of the Lions. I think they are very aggressive on the ground when healthy, and I think they also do a very nice job and very explosive. If Christian Watson is there, they'll be very explosive in that passing game, and they'll rely heavily on Christian Watson to be able to be that next man up. So I'm going to take the Packers to win the game, straight up, and I think the Lions will cover the spread. I think it's going to be a really close game. This is one of those teams that the Packers, as a divisional game, They normally split against a lot of their divisional teams, except for the Bears, because they own the Bears pretty much. But this would be a game that I feel that the Lions have an opportunity to win, and they probably should in terms of talent wise. Maybe they're about neck and neck with the Packers, but I like the Packers here. I like the home field advantage. I like their crowd a lot more. So it's going to be a tough environment for them to play, for the Lions to play in. So I will take the Packers to win, and I will take the Lions to cover the spread at 1.5. But don't be surprised if the spread changes within the next 24 hours, less than 24 hours now. Next game we've got is the Atlanta Falcons and the Jacksonville Jags. This game is being played in London. The Jags are favored by 3 points. For whatever reason, the Jags always play very well in London. They play better in London than they do in the United States. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it just always works out to be that way. Jacksonville is due for another win here, and I think they're going to get that win here. Not to really put down the Falcons. The Falcons could be better than what they are right now, but the Falcons' problem is consistent quarterback play, which is not there at all. And if Arthur Smith and company is not willing to let Taylor Heineke play for this team, who I think is a very nice addition to this Falcons team, and I think is a better choice than what they have starting right now, and probably even better than what they had starting last year under Marcus Mariota. I think that's the better choice right there in having Taylor Heineke take over for Desmond Ridder. I mean, there's nothing that I can really say that has wowed me about Desmond Ridder. He can't throw the ball down the field. He doesn't have a good arm. He can't read NFL defenses. He's not very electrifying. He doesn't have very good pocket presence. So the guy is just not an NFL caliber quarterback, and he's going to take a long time to really develop to be that NFL quarterback that we all want to see perform. I just don't see any upside really with him, and that's really what keeps this team back. So that's why I have a hard time picking the Falcons. Now, Jacksonville, I said before, are due for another win eventually, and they get it here. But my concerns about Jacksonville is what I was concerned about earlier in the season that everybody thought I was kind of crazy about. One, the offensive line, which is very subpar, just not very good, very susceptible to a very solid defensive line, which I think they're going to struggle against. I think they're going to struggle against a very strong pass rush of the Falcons. Another reason I've also been concerned about them is because of their defense. Their defense has talent, but very inconsistent. They struggled so badly last week against the Texans, and they dropped 37 points against the Texans. And that is an offense that's not the greatest. They're not the most explosive offense, and for them to give up 37 points against a very lowly offensive team for the Texans, I think that's just very, very absurd to really see. Now, not taking away anything from C.J. Stroud, because I think C.J. Stroud is going to turn this team around, and he's going to help this team tremendously win a lot more games this year than last year, and they look a lot more watchable than they did last year by a mile. But you shouldn't have given up 37 points. There's no way that you can give up 37 points to a Texans team that has yet to really prove that they're the up-and-coming, winning teams in the NFL. That's just really what it is, and that's what it comes down to. So, again, not taking anything down on the Texans. I think they're a team that's going to get better. I like the way that they're looking, and I've liked them all of off-season. But you wouldn't think that for a team like that that's still in a rebuild mode, you don't expect them to score 37 points. That's just absolutely crazy. And against a team that is supposed to be very good in Jacksonville. So that's also a concern there too. And then not enough people really blame Trevor Lawrence for last week's loss, but he also was a big problem to why the Jags lost last week and the week before that. So 2 straight losses in a row. But that can't happen here. I'm going with Jacksonville to win in London. This is their hot spot to win. This is where Everybody loves watching Jacksonville. This is what they love to play. They own this field. So, therefore, I'm going with the Jacksonville Jags to win this game. I'm taking them to cover the spread, too, because I feel that's also something that they can easily do in a heartbeat. So, I will take the Jags. I feel very confident in that one. All right. Sorry, guys, I had to plug in my charger. All right, guys, next one we have here is the Los Angeles Rams at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are favored in this game, surprisingly, by 1.5 points. I find this a little bit surprising, but probably not so much because they are the home team. They usually play pretty well. And both of these teams are actually, this is probably going to be a better game than what we would have thought of at the beginning of the year. These were two of the teams that were supposed to be at least at a bottom five of the bottom poll this year. But both of these teams have really surprised us this year in terms of how they've played. The records may not show it, especially for the Rams. They may not show that they've been as good as the record indicates, but if you watch film, if you watch Matthew Stafford, if you watch how this team plays, they've been playing some really darn good football. I mean, Matthew Stafford is like lighting up defenses out there like it's like laser tag. He's got an incredibly underrated wide receiver core in like Puka Nakua or Tutu Atwell, like all these receivers that are stepping up big time until Cooper Kupp comes back into the offense, which is incredible to see. Defensively, they've been playing pretty solid. I know last week they played the Bengals. The Bengals are a little bit beat up right now. They could get themselves back into the winning formality, but they gave up 19 points there. But their defense has been playing pretty solid too, despite not having much talent there on the defensive side outside of Aaron Donald. But yeah, this Rams team has been playing pretty well, and I think this is probably the team that's been probably the most surprising team so far this season in terms of how they've been playing, and they've been playing quite well. The Colts, they've also been surprising some people as well. Anthony Richardson's been playing really well. Gardner Minshew had a really nice week against the Ravens last week. He helped them win that game. So the Colts are also a very flying the radar, a sneaky good team that could be better than what people give them credit for as of right now, which is crazy to even think about because we didn't think that this team would have been very good this year. So this is another really tough matchup. I think we have a pretty good understanding in terms of like who these teams are and how they play, what kind of schemes they're going to go to, and where their strong suits are. We know that, we know in terms of how the Colts play. We know they love to run the ball. Zach Moss is still the starting quarterback starting running back until Jonathan Taylor comes back and he's able to get himself back on the right track, which is, it's kind of unlikely, but it could be something that, it could be something that could be worth focusing into and everything. But at the same time, I think it's, kind of unlikely that we'll see much of Jonathan Taylor this year. I think he will eventually get himself traded to another team. But I feel like this team without Jonathan Taylor has actually looked better than when Jonathan Taylor was on this team last year. And that's crazy to even think about because 2 years ago he was your rushing leader for the running back aspect of the football, which is crazy to even think about. Defensively, they played against the Ravens. The Ravens are beat up. So the defense has kind of been iffy, but they can get the job done though. This is a really tough game though. I really don't know who's going to win this game. I have a really hard time picking this one. But I guess I'm going to go with, this is a really tough game because I feel like either one of these two teams could win this one easily. Well, not easily, but I think either one of these teams could win. It's a toss-up. I feel like the Rams probably will win this game. I think the Rams and Sean McVay could probably get the job done. I think their defense is stronger than the Colts. I like their defense better, especially when you have Aaron Donald as your guy that's going to be all over the field on defense. That's going to be a hard man to stop. And if Anthony Richardson comes back into play here, it won't be a very fun day for Anthony Richardson. So I will take the Rams to win, but I'll take the Colts to cover the spread at 1.5. I think that's a very good bet right there. Next, you got the Baltimore Ravens and you have the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are favored by 2.5 points. This is another really good matchup right here. It probably could be even better if the Ravens weren't so beat up in this particular matchup. They're missing a lot of key players. They're going to be missing, obviously they're missing J.K. Dobbins for the year with the Achilles tear, which is something that is a very touchy subject for Baltimore right now. They also have some injuries there with, Justice Hill. Gus Edwards also was kind of questionable too. So the running back room is definitely banged up, no question about it. Their defense also has taken a couple of their lumps too. So that's also going to play a big factor there too. I don't think their pass rush is nearly as good as it was in years past. They don't blitz like they used to. So they're under a whole new scheme defensively, and I just don't see them really performing all that well against the Browns, who's going to have have to go up against a really good offensive line, a quarterback in Deshaun Watson. If we see Deshaun Watson play like he did last week, they can definitely win this game. So right now, in a talent-wise, I think the Browns are a better team. I think defensively, I think the Browns are better. Offensively, I think when healthy, the Ravens could be better. But right now, the Browns are struggling without Nick Chubb. So they have to figure out how they're going to play the rest of the season without him. But they can get the passing game going if Deshaun Watson is good. And that's a very hard thing to really ask about from a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, because we don't know how he is. We just don't know if he's in the top 10 like he used to be. We don't know what day of Deshaun Watson we're going to get. But I think this will be a good game to kind of really figure out for Deshaun Watson, like, is he for real? He was able to take advantage of Tennessee last week, but a lot of that was mostly because their defense took advantage of the Titans' offense that's the worst in the league right now. They can't score touchdowns and barely can score even field goals in that matter, too. So I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going with the dog pound. I'm going with the Browns to win. I think the Browns right now are a more well-rounded team. I think they're better defensively. And they have less injuries. Yes, they're losing. They have Nick Chubb that's out for the year, but they can pick up the slack in the run game with Jerome Ford, and they can also get Kareem Hunt going and involved in this offense as well. And then you have a good receiving core of Donovan Peoples-Jones, Amari Cooper as your number one, who's been playing awesome this year. A really solid offensive line. As long as Deshaun Watson can play, as long as he can play consistent, he's going to do just fine. I will take the Browns to win. I will take the Browns to cover. It is time for the Browns to make a statement in the AFC North and prove that they are the threat that they say that they are. All right, next game you've got is the Minnesota Vikings, who are 3.5-point favorites to the Panthers. Both of these teams are 0-3. Neither team has been playing good. Well, the Panthers, on the other hand, really have not been playing very well. But the Vikings, on the other hand, have been playing good offense. They just can't finish games. So that's a tough one right there. The Panthers are dealing with a lot of injuries, and they're dealing with a lot of adversity right now. I think with Bryce Young, is taking his lumps as a rookie. I don't think anybody really expected him to really start out his NFL career as bad as he's been, the first couple of weeks of the season. He didn't play last week. Andy Dalton took in his place. I thought Andy Dalton played really well against the Seahawks last week. And yes, I understand the Seahawks defense. They still haven't figured it out yet. They usually start very, very slow in the beginning of the season. He gave up, I think he had like 200 yards, over 200 yards of passing, 2 touchdowns, DJ Chark and Adam Thielen all over the field. So I understand all of that. And maybe that doesn't sound impressive, but Andy Dalton took advantage of a very weak offense and a very bad offensive line and scored 27 on the Seahawks, which is still very impressive in my opinion, very much impressive. So Bryce Young is questionable, but they're saying he is going to return for this game. And I think Bryce Young could probably get his first win as a rookie quarterback here against the Vikings, because the Vikings defense is so bad that the Vikings could easily lose as many games as they did last year already. It's like they've already lost 3 straight games, and they're already close to the max of how many games they lost last year. They're almost already there. So while they haven't surpassed it yet, I think they'll surpass it a lot earlier in the season than people really thought. So this is a really good kind of matchup. It's not a great game per se because the Panthers are struggling on offense and the Vikings are struggling on defense. So one of these teams have to get their first win, right? That's what we think. One of these teams has to get their very first win of the season, and I think I'm going to go with the veteran in Kirk Cousins and the fourth year man in Justin Jefferson, and they'll just take over this game against the Carolina Panthers. I'm taking the Vikings to win. Hopefully, they will win this time. I picked them to win last week against the Chargers. I thought they would have, and they messed it all up and they lost that game. But I am sitting here right now, and I will take the Vikings. If the Vikings do not win in this game, I am done picking them for the rest of the season. But their offense is just so darn good that there's no way they can go 0-4, right? Right? They shouldn't go 0-4. They should finally get a win here against a very bad offense of Carolina. So I'm going with the Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings, and I'm taking their spread. I mean, they got to win eventually. The Panthers will get their first win eventually, but it's not going to go against a very elite offense of the Vikings. All right, next game you got is the Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. The Cincinnati Bengals are favored by 2.5 points. The Titans lost pretty bad last week against the Browns. Don't really need to talk about that one too much. The Bengals, in a way, are back. I guess you could say they are back in a way, but it's more of what their defense is able to do more so than what their offense can do, if that makes any sense. The defense on Monday night played phenomenal against the Rams, and Logan Wilson and Trey Hendrickson were all over the field the entire game on Monday Night Football. The offense, however, while they were solid, they got a good ground game going with Joe Mixon, and as much as they got a good passing game in Joe Burrow who threw 1 pick in the game but no passing touchdowns, like the Bengals could eventually come back, and they could eventually get themselves ready to go in this week and start winning games more and more throughout the season. Like, that can definitely easily happen. But, obviously the Bengals are still kind of beat up a little bit. Joe Burrow, coming off of a calf injury, looked a lot more healthier, looked a lot better than I thought he was going to when he played on Monday night, and he shocked everybody. So I feel that the Bengals offense can get themselves back on track, but this is another tough defense that they're going to be facing this week. So I don't expect them to really score 20 points. This has been a pretty good matchup, and it's been a really tough one for the Titans to win. They haven't been able to beat the Bengals in quite some time. I think for like 4 straight seasons, the Bengals have always gotten the best of the Titans. They've always kept these two teams have always kept it very close with one another. The Titans play tough defense there that they can get pressure on you at any time. They can take advantage of a very weak offensive line for Cincinnati, which will be huge for them. If they can get pressure on Joe Burrow, if they can force sacks on Joe Burrow, the Titans could maybe somehow find a way to win the game. But I don't know. I just don't trust the Titans offense right now to really do anything spectacular against a very good defense of the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm going to take the Bengals to win. I will take the Bengals to win. I will take them to cover the spread. But I do think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than what people are giving them credit for. I think it's going to be like a 19-13, maybe 19-16 kind of game. It's going to be like at least a field goal or at least a touchdown separating between the two teams. Next I have here is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored here by 3 points. Both teams kind of figuring out who's who. They're having an identity crisis. They don't really know exactly what kind of team they want to be this week. The Bucks playing that really hardcore offense or hardcore defense, excuse me. Being able to be like one of the top defenses to uh, you know be able to stop the run, which they were able to contain Jalen Hurts in the passing game, which was a lot better than I thought they would have. But the rushing game, and being able to stop the run was just not there. And they can't run the ball by any means either. Rashad White was just dead in the water and couldn't move the ball at all very well, unless if he had open space and, you're throwing a check down to him. So that's big right there. So, and then the Saints, have Derek Carr. Derek Carr was out, for that second half, and Jameis Winston came in. And Jameis Winston did absolutely, positively nothing to help this team win at all. So, a tough break there for the Saints to lose that one. This is very likely that Jameis Winston will play in this game. Derek Carr is going to be dealing with a shoulder injury, so he won't be able to get back there on top. But I don't think I like Tampa's offense. I think Baker Mayfield is kind of being overshadowed right now because of all the years of him being very cocky, very, very high of himself in terms of quarterback play. I can understand why people won't want to take the Bucks here because Baker has shown a lot of inconsistencies as well in the past, and last week was not one of his best games, and he's also playing through like a shoulder injury. He just doesn't really look very right. So I'm going to go with the safe bet here. I'm going to take the Saints to win. I think the Saints defense is going to do a lot. This will be one of the toughest defenses. I think they will be the toughest defense that Tampa Bay faces so far this season. And I think their coaching is a bit more trustworthy, although I'm not a huge Dennis Allen fan either. But Jameis Winston has a lot of experience with winning some of these tight, contested games. He knows what the Bucs are about. He's played for the Bucs in years past, was drafted by them, so he understands the kind of defense that they play. And he's also played, under Todd Bowles, and he knows the Todd Bowles defense, a hardcore defense that he likes to play in Tampa. So I'm going to take the Saints to win. I will take the Saints to cover the spread as well. The Saints always usually get the best of the Bucs, especially when Tom Brady was there too. It was always a not a snooze fest, but it's always been a very tough game for Tom Brady to be able to beat the Saints. They always found a way to beat them every single year when he was a Buc. Next, we have probably the best game of the week, and that is the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills here are favored as the home team at 2.5 points. This is a really tough matchup, really, really good game. I really like this one a lot, and I'm actually looking forward to really seeing who's going to end up winning this game. The Dolphins, as we all know, no need for introductions. The best offense in the league, the top passing team, number one passing team. Last I checked, they were at least top 15 or 16 in rushing yards as well, too, which is incredible. I don't think we've seen the Dolphins actually run the ball efficiently as we have this season, so that's great to see. The Bills have also been playing better, but this will be their toughest matchup to be playing against this week. They have not faced an offense this good yet, so this will be the week to be able to figure that out. So the Bills on the other side, Josh Allen still doing his thing. Stephon Diggs playing that hardcore nickelback defenses. The defense has been playing very well. But this will be the toughest matchup for the defense, and they will have a tough time being able to slow down players like Tyreek Hill or, if Jalen Waddle's in this game. This will be a really tough one for them to stop him there as well. And Raheem Mostert also playing very well, and Etienne as well is going to be extremely tough to stop in the split game with Mostert. But I think the Dolphins actually pull up the upset. I'm going to throw it out there right now, and I think they will pull off the upset. A lot of those reasons, I understand it's in Buffalo. That's not an easy place to play. You're playing up north with a team that's coming all the way from South Florida, coming all the way up here and have to play. But if you think about it, it's going to be a nice weekend all weekend long. Not sure what the weather is going to be like in Buffalo, but I imagine that the weather is still going to be pretty nice. But this isn't like the winter time frame where the Dolphins are usually not very good in like cold weather. They're not used to the cold weather, but this will be an opportunity for the Dolphins to take advantage of that early season matchup in Buffalo early, so that way when it does come down to playoff time, and these two teams have to play against each other, one of them will get home field advantage there. So I like this matchup a lot, but I see the Dolphins actually winning. I don't know if there's many defenses besides the Patriots. Maybe the Bills will kind of slow them down a little bit, but I don't really see the Dolphins actually losing this game in Buffalo. I don't see it. I think their offense is explosive right now. Nobody can stop them. And if they were able to score 70 points on Sean Payton and that Broncos defense, imagine what they could do to Buffalo's defense here, because their defense also usually does not play very well when they have to play teams that are better than them. So that would be insane to see if Miami actually puts up a lot more points than what we thought they would. So I will take the Dolphins to win. I will take the Dolphins to cover at plus 2.5. This will be a really, really, really good game. This is a game that you must watch this week. So that will be my game of the week right there. Hold on, I'm going to take a sip of my water, and then we'll continue on. Okay, next game we have here is the Tank Bowl, as everybody's been saying it all week long so far, and that is the Denver Broncos and the Chicago Bears. I'm just going to make this very simple and easy. I'm taking the Broncos to win. I don't think the Broncos are as bad as people want to make them sound like to be. They're not good at all, but I don't think they're as bad as the Bears are. I think the Bears have proven time and time again that they're going to be drafting number one next year for next year's draft. They just have been playing very poor football. Justin Fields throwing interceptions, pick sixes, fumbling the football away, no protection, no arm strength. Arm strength's there, but no accuracy at all. Working under pressure. What else can I really say about the Bears? They're just a very, very bad team. The Broncos defense, though, has been pretty bad. They have not played very well at all, after 2 weeks. They didn't play well against the Commanders in the second half, and they definitely did not play well against the very fast Miami Dolphins at all either. Losing that game by 50 points. That's insane. Absolutely, positively insane. But I think the Broncos get their first win here somehow. I think Russell Wilson, I think the Broncos offense is a lot better than what I gave them credit for earlier in the year. And I think this is like their get-right kind of game, and this is a game that they should win in Chicago. Yeah, it's probably not going to be an easy game. Yeah, it's probably going to be one of the toughest, atmospheres that the Broncos are going to be facing this year, but there's no real reason why the Broncos shouldn't win this game, because Russell Wilson on the other side is a far better quarterback still. Even if he is considered washed up, he's still better than Justin Fields by like a mile and a half. No exaggeration right there whatsoever. So yes, I'm taking the Broncos. I'm taking the Broncos to win straight up and to cover the spread. This is a game that they must win. If the Broncos don't win, I will not pick the Broncos the rest of the year. But this is a game that they have to win, and they should win in Chicago on Sunday afternoon. Next game here, another really interesting matchup of the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles are favored by 8 points. Last year, the Commanders played on Monday Night Football in Philly. We all know how that turned out to be. We all know that was not a very pretty picture at the end of the day. The Eagles, offensively they've been good enough to win games, but they haven't played like really hardcore, consistent, and they haven't played good enough offense to put up a lot more points. Like if they could, limit the turnover ratio, if Jalen Hurts could actually throw the football down the field and not turn the ball over, I feel like this team would be a lot better offensively than what they're showing us right now. I just don't see them actually being a great electrifying offense or as anywhere as good as they were last year. As far as defense goes, it kind of goes with the same thing too. I thought last year they were inconsistent on defense too. I feel like there's still the same inconsistency with their defense in this kind of matchup. The Commanders, they struggled against the Bills last week. Sam Howell turned the ball over 5 times, and 4 of those turnovers were interceptions. But that was also very expected, though, too. Buffalo's defense always plays very well against teams that are well below them. It's just the way that the cookie crumbles every year. So this is a divisional game. It's a tougher atmosphere. It's a tougher game to kind of analyze. But I think really in terms of like when you watch the Commanders and how they played last week, they've shown that they're not fraudulent, but they've shown that they don't play very well against very good teams that are far superior than them. And the Eagles are that team that is at least a couple of tiers ahead of them. But the Commanders also could pull off the upset too, because I think their defense is actually very good, despite giving up 37 to the Bills last week. I think they could potentially find a way to pull off the upset and beat the Eagles. But I don't know if that's going to happen here this week. I don't think that's going to happen in Philly in this atmosphere and this early in the season. I think the Commanders are going to take a little bit of time to be able to play tougher teams and be able to upset tougher teams. I think that's going to be later on in the season. So I think the Eagles are still going to win this game. I think they're going to continue the season, being undefeated for this long. So the Eagles will win this game, I think. I'm going to take the Eagles to win, but I'm going to take the Commanders +8. And the reason why I'm taking the Commanders +8 is more of the fact because the Eagles' offense is very inconsistent right now. If they can get the run game going, which they've done for the last couple of weeks, they will be just fine. But Jalen Hurts has to stop throwing the football away to the other team. That's just hardcore facts. That has to end. And I think it's going to end right here on Sunday afternoon against their arch rivals of the Washington Commanders. So Philly for the win, but +8 for the Commanders. That's not a crazy bet right there. Trust me. It's probably a one that I probably wouldn't bet on, but that's not a crazy idea for them for you to take that +8. All right, next game we've got here is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Houston Texans. So the Steelers are favored by 3 right here. The Steelers, we already know what they're all about. We know they play hardcore defense. Offensively, they haven't been the greatest offense. Kenny Pickett has had some good moments, but not great games. I thought last Sunday was probably one of his better games that he's played this season, but that was against a very lowly defense of the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's not really anything to really get too hyped up about. But Kenny Pickett has been playing with what he could, and this team is also swirling around with injuries, especially to Deontay Johnson that's still not there, a running game that's non-existent under Najee Harris or Jalen Warren. The tight end position of Pat Freiermuth is probably one of their better options to throw the ball to if George Pickens is covered, and as well as Calvin Austin. And their offensive line has been playing better, but still inconsistent. But their defense also keeps them in the game in all their games that they do play. So that's something that you do have to admire there. The Texans also, like I said earlier, have been coming off of a very big statement win for the young quarterback in C.J. Stroud, who's been playing monstrous this entire season. I don't even believe that C.J. Stroud has even thrown an interception yet. That's how good of a rookie season that he's been having. But unfortunately, I got to go with the Steelers, and I got to take the Steelers at -3. Reason is because there's T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's not an easy defense to play against, especially when you have an offensive line that's not the absolute greatest, or an offense that's an absolute greatest. So that's why it's hard for me to take the Texans. Now, honestly, I will be rooting for the Texans. honestly, because I want to see the Texans pull off an upset. I just don't see it happening, though, against the Steelers. So I will take the Steelers to win. I think they can also pretty handily cover the spread. I think their defense will do a lot of damage to them, and they're one of the top scoring defenses in the league. So maybe they could probably get like a fumble recovery for a touchdown, or maybe even a pick six, and that would probably come from C.J. Stroud's very first interception in his NFL career. So yeah, Steelers win, but the Steelers cover the spread. All right, guys, not too many games left, so let's go ahead and we'll speed them up. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers favored at 5.5 points right here. So I'm going with the Chargers. I'm just going to throw that out there. I was not impressed with the way the Raiders played offense and defense, and I was not impressed with the way that Josh McDaniels handled this game. I thought this was the worst coached game for Josh McDaniels all year when he played against the Steelers last week. I just was not very impressed with the way how the Raiders looked. I thought Jimmy Garoppolo looked very off. Only felt comfortable throwing to Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. That's not enough to win an NFL football game in this day and age. You have to have a lot more help around you. You have to separate all of your receivers and who you're going to throw the ball to in all sorts of different directions right there. So, yeah, I'm taking I'm taking the Chargers to win. I know that sounds very cliche. I understand that probably sounds a little bit crazy to say that they're going to win, and I feel confident about it. But after watching the Raiders play last week, and if Jimmy Garoppolo is not ready to go, I don't know if Aiden O'Connell will be ready to go ahead and play against a very high-flying offense of the Chargers. Maybe they'll get a couple of scores in, but I don't know if this run game is going to be good enough. I don't think it's going to be good enough for them to keep themselves in the game. So I don't know if Aiden O'Connell plays this week. I don't know if he can get that win, and I know if Brian Hoyer plays, he's definitely not getting the win against the Chargers. So I got to go with the Chargers here, and I got to go with the Chargers spread too. I think the Chargers could probably actually almost blow out the Raiders because of how bad their defense played last week. So the fact that I'm even talking about this game still is just goes to show you that there's not much really left to really talk about in it. So Chargers win, and the Chargers straight up. I don't really know what else really there is to talk about. Next game, the Arizona Cardinals and the 49ers. This game will be played in San Francisco with the 49ers at minus 14. Now, the Cardinals. Let's talk about the Cardinals for a minute, though. The Cardinals are a team that nobody seems to be really giving them credit for. Like, I don't think there's anybody that has said, wow, the Cardinals are a fun team to watch. They're a team that I would like to... I probably wouldn't want to play against right now because of how they can upset you at any given time. That's just crazy to me. To think about a team that was supposed to be the worst team in the league with the worst offense, the worst defense, the worst special teams, the worst of everything. This team was supposed to be like record-breaking things this year of this team. And they've already won their first game of the season, and it came down to a Cowboys team that is poised for a Super Bowl run, and they have already upset them. So they've played some good football this season, and they've really been having a good start to their season. They just haven't been on the opposite side of things where they've been winning some of those games. Like, the Giants game, I felt like they should have really won that game. And the Commanders game, they've also gave the Commanders a run for their money, too. So I don't think they're going to win this game by the 49ers. I think this is their toughest game that this toughest team that they've been facing all year. But I think they're going to keep it interesting, though. So I will take the 49ers to win the straight up. But would it be a bad idea to take the plus 14? I don't know. That's a lot of points right there. I think that's a very, very gutsy call to make. I think it's very gutsy that anybody would take this one. So I would probably avoid betting on this game this week, but I wouldn't be opposed for you taking plus 14 because I believe that the Cardinals can keep it very interesting as a divisional game, but I don't see them coming out on the winning end of things. So that's why I can't pick them to win the straight up. But I can definitely say that it would be a good idea to take the plus 14 for the Cardinals and take those points there for them, because I think they will keep it a very close, contested game. Like Josh Dobbs, I don't think anybody's really given him enough credit for the credit that he rightfully deserves. I feel that he's been kind of getting gypped out of a couple of these early season games that he's played in, and I feel that they've been doing well. And I think they run the ball very well with James Conner, too. Like, there are some things that are good about the Cardinals that I feel that makes them a fun team to watch. So I will take the 49ers still, though. But, yeah, go ahead and take the plus 14 for the Cardinals. I would definitely not be opposed by that if that does happen. Next game is the Patriots and the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 7-point favorites here. The Patriots defense, they played phenomenal against the Jets last week, but that's the Jets offense. Their offense stinks under Zach Wilson. So this will be their toughest matchup for this week here. But I believe the Patriots are going to keep it very close here against the Dallas Cowboys. And I honestly do believe that I think in terms of defense and how the Cowboys play their defense, it could be a potential upset this week for Mac Jones and company to go in there and beat the Cowboys in upset fashion. That's just my personal opinion right there. The Cowboys offense is good, but I do have my questions about them. I just don't know how consistent they are. I just don't know how great they are besides the talent that they have on paper. That's just my only worries about them. Their defense, Trayvon Diggs is out for the year. That hurts them a lot in that secondary formation. But they still have Micah Parsons. Last week he was really nowhere to be found against the Cardinals. So I wouldn't be shocked if Bill Belichick found a way to keep him out. And if the offensive line plays up to like what they played against the Jets last week, they could be in a good position to win this game. But the Patriots have to make sure that they don't fumble or they don't turn this game away to the Cowboys. Because if those early turnovers happen early in the game and later on in the game, that's going to make life very difficult for the Patriots to come all the way back and beat the Cowboys. So am I going with the upset right here? Yes, I am. I am going to take the upset. As much as I think the Cowboys defense is phenomenal and they could be, the 85 Bears this year, I'm going to take the Patriots. I'm taking the upset in Bill Belichick. I really feel that the Patriots are due for a couple wins. This is one of those games that they must win. And I think out of the top three teams that they face this year, the Eagles, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys, this is one of their winnable games that they should be able to win. Or shouldn't, can't say they should win, but I think this is one of more of their winnable games that they can win against. So as long as the offensive line blocks for the Patriots and Mac Jones, and as long as they can get a good run game going with Ramondre Stevenson, and they can get the ball to Zeke, they could win this game. And I think they will win this game. And if defense, as long as the Patriots stop the run game and Tony Pollard, this could be a very good game for the Patriots, and they could get a W here. So I'm going with the Patriots upset. I think they're going to upset the Cowboys this week, and I would take the Patriots +7. I think they're going to cover the spread just fine. I really do. So give me the Patriots. Give me the +7. I will definitely take it. All right, guys. Sunday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs at the New York Jets. So this game would have been a lot closer. It would have been a lot closer of a spread than 9.5, but we already know the story. We know Zach Wilson is playing here. So I'm going with the Chiefs to win this game. I'm not going to bet on this game. I just don't feel comfortable about betting any Chiefs games and, these kind of spreads like this, especially when they have to play a very tough top 3 defense in the league in the Jets, which will probably keep them very, very close in the game. But the Chiefs' defense is also going to make life very difficult for Zach Wilson to get anything going. Like if they thought Matthew Judon was bad last week, getting all over them. Wait till they face Chris Jones and Zach Wilson gets into, Chris Jones gets into Zach Wilson's face. Just wait until that happens. It will not be pretty. It will not be fun. But I am definitely going to take the Chiefs to win this game here in MetLife. But I would avoid betting on this game. I would not bet on this game this week, only because the Jets defense could do exactly what they did the last couple of weeks. Beat the Bills on a punt return touchdown in overtime, or keep the game close against the Patriots. Like, they could definitely be able to do that. And I think they could keep this game a lot closer than what you think. Maybe not a low-scoring affair, but I think their defense can do what they can to keep themselves at least in the game for a little bit. So I'm sorry I don't have much else to really say about this game, but Chiefs for the win. Chiefs could probably cover, but maybe take the Jets plus 9.5 and see where that kind of takes you to. That wouldn't be a terrible bet there. And then finally, Monday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks at the New York Giants. So again, another week with back-to-back games at MetLife Stadium. The Giants are favored here by 1.5 points. The Seahawks traveling all the way across the country to play the Giants. This will not be an easy game for them. The West Coast teams usually don't travel very well. A lot of them usually don't. The Seahawks are one of those teams, and especially because their defense isn't playing very well this early in the season, this is an opportunity for the Giants to have a bounce-back week and be able to take advantage of that. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, if he plays this week, can definitely get things rolling on the offense. As long as the offensive line can protect Daniel Jones, this could be a very good game and a winnable game for the Giants. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Seahawks came out and won. I think the Seahawks on paper are a better team, but the Giants are a pretty good coach team under Brian Daboll and defensive coordinator of Wink Martindale, that they will keep this game a lot closer. And they will be a lot more competitive, especially if Brian Daboll, coaches up the offense and calls the offensive plays. So I feel good about the Giants this week. I think this will be a very highly contested game for the Giants, and I think this will be like a prolific game for them this week that they could win. And I think a lot of teams would say that they could definitely win, and they probably will win, because the Seahawks coming all the way across the country to play this game, it won't be easy for them. And their defense is also just not playing very well right now. So that's where the Giants could also really take advantage of big time. So I will take the Giants in an upset here against the Seahawks, and then I will take the Giants to cover the spread at 1.5. Usually the Giants do a pretty decent job with covering in these kind of games. Sometimes they do a pretty good job with it if they are on the winning aspect of things. So I would not think this would be a crazy idea to bet the 1.5 for the Giants to win against the Seattle Seahawks at home. This will be a really good Monday Night Football game that I feel like is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And with all of that, everybody, there goes my week 4 picks for the NFL season. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about my picks in terms of what I feel about the teams this year. Do I feel like they can do the job? Do I feel like this is their week to get a win here, and things of that nature? So just leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's anything that you would like me to do, and in terms of like all the different things that you would like me to see do moving forward on the channel. Like this video, and also hit that subscribe button too, because anytime, as I've said over and over again, anytime that I go live on YouTube, and things like that, and when I post new content and pre-recorded stuff, you will be the first one to be notified every single time. So if you hit that notification bell as soon as you subscribe, everything will be posted on there. You will get alerted for all the new things that I have coming on here. I'm trying to help this channel grow, and I need your guys' help. So please be able to do that for me. This is your boy JP Football Fanatic saying thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate it. We'll see you all next time. Have a good night, everybody. Peace.